Well, the federal by-election in Battle River, Crowfoot, in Alberta came and went is pretty much as predictable as anybody would expect. You know, Polyev pulled in 80%. They threw everything with the kitchen sink at it. The Liberals and the NDP barely registered. They barely put any time into it. But what does it mean for independence, I guess? Or does it mean anything for it? To be honest, not really. But we should talk a bit. I want to talk a bit about uh, the federal parties. Is there a purpose, or what should independent supporters in the West be doing with federal parties? And yeah, my view is much similar to my view with the provincial parties. Don't waste your time on them. I mean, you still got to vote. I believe you should vote. I believe you should work to hold your local representative as accountable as you can. You want to get the person in who's going to do the least damage to you when it comes federally. And provincially, you want the ones that will allow you to give the mechanism for independence. But you see, all of the movement for independence is a provincial initiative. It's really in our backyard. So federally, typically the Conservatives will be less bad to us than the Liberals will. But I see people jumping up and down. I can't vote for Polyev because he won't support separation. Well, guess what? He never will. No Conservative Party leader ever will. They won't. It's political suicide. They're running to lead the entire country. They got no reason to support something like that. It would be foolish. But they'd be less likely, again, to harm us. They'd be more likely to speak up, at least on our behalf, when the federal government is doing bad things to us. So that's why I say we take part, as limited as it is. But how much to lose sleep over and how much to do, it's up to you. The last closest thing we had to a Western party was the Maverick Party, and they were all right. Their platform was good. They definitely would have stood up for the West, but they faded away. People didn't support it enough. It didn't get anywhere. Look at the People's Party and its constant decline. Towards the end, Maxime Bernier even came out and said he supports a referendum and full Alberta independence. He said that just a couple weeks ago. I think it was a desperate grab to try and get something out of that by-election. Well, the People's Party candidate got 0.3%. Those are the kind of numbers the Alberta Republican Party gets when it runs at Edmonton, right? They're wasting time, wasting effort, wasting energy, physical and emotional. If you're supporting independence, guys, it's all about the referendum, nothing bloody else. You're distracting yourself. Other noteworthy things, I guess, the by-election really did expose the real enemy, though. Hey, wasn't it fun watching this Bonnie Critchley that nobody's ever heard of and nobody ever will after this? But boy, the legacy media outlets sure tried to pump the tires for her campaign, didn't they? I'd hear her on the radio, I'd see ads, political scientists talking, and others, or even, good old Max Fawcett was, Polyev might be in trouble in this constituency. Yeah, right, whatever. She couldn't even get 10%. They're pretty good for an independent candidate. And I know people living within there are a little frustrated with the way the political games work, where you lost a local representative and a federal one parachuted in because they needed a seat to get in. It violates the principle of having a local representative, right? It defeats the purpose. It's just the way the game's played in the parliamentary system. Every party does. It doesn't mean it's right or wrong, I guess, but it's going to happen. So vote against it if you like. Vote for it. Don't vote. But you should vote. You should pay attention, as I said. You should email or contact your members of parliament when you can to stand up for Alberta rights. But really, when it comes to the independence movement, the federal game doesn't mean a bloody thing. It doesn't. If you want to take a federal independence party, like I said, we said the closest thing was the PPC, or what was that, the United Canada one, or whatever that guy is. They tried kind of talking about reform and any equalization and things like that, and they ended up with 1.3%, better than Bernier, I guess, but they didn't get anywhere, and they won't. So, it's not an area to put too much effort into. I guess you could help out on campaigns. I mean, I would talk about that similarly. I talked about that in a past video, because we need to gain electoral experience. We need to gain contacts. We need to find the people who are active, who are conservative, who will support independence when the referendum time comes, because we need that. We need the training for ourselves to be better campaigners. So there's an opportunity. I think, just like with the municipal election, it won't have anything to do with independence, but I think people should volunteer locally for the municipal elections this fall because you can network and you can train and you can get better at campaigning. But the municipal politicians aren't going to change anything independence wise. Likewise, federally. If you wanted to get involved with a federal EDA, you're going to meet people who are active people politically in your local area. It's good for that. You'll get some campaign training. But as far as the federal party doing anything for us, they won't. They won't do anything bad to us, I think, in general, the conservatives. Well, it's hard to say. Look what Mulroney did with the CF-18 contracts, right? Look where Poilievre's party landed when they decided that rep by pop doesn't apply to Quebec anymore and let Quebec keep an extra seat, even though they don't deserve it. Where are they on supply management? Where are they in equalization? I know all those things. I know they won't stand up for us. But it doesn't mean throwing a vote down the toilet by voting PPC. Well, you can. And like I said, if you want to make a statement, go to it. It's not going to hurt anything. I'm not as worried about people voting for different parties in the federal elections out here as people putting money, time, and energy into them. That's the thing. Because we need every bit we can get to become independent. We're on an uphill battle, and we're going the right way, but we only have so much for resources as individuals, collectively, the whole works. I listened today, of course, when they're done trying to pump up the tires for Bonnie Critchley. They had Fabio Lukasic on the radio for an extended interview, basically another infomercial on how to sign for his little fake, as was said, nothing burger petition on we want to stay in Canada. So we're going to have to fight that. And we're going to need everything we can to do it. So when you're wasting resources elsewhere, that means you're not directing them towards the referendum, the petitioning, the things that are going to have to happen for us really to become independent. Federally, it doesn't really do any harm so much. Provincially, though, we got the Republican Party that's actually setting the independence movement back because it's splitting the movement and not appealing to anybody. So the provincial involvement there, you will actually do damage if you mess around with those guys. Plus, they really could potentially take a 5% say bite out of the vote and put the NDP in so we never get an independence vote. Good work, Cam. Yeah, that would really help us all a lot, wouldn't it? Look, I've said it before and I'll say it again. Keep your eyes on the prize. It's the referendum. It's a referendum win on a clear question to independence. That's the only path, the only way, and it's going to be a lot of work, and we can't sidetrack ourselves from that path. Again, the Alberta Prosperity Project, as far as groups go, some people like or dislike some of the things some of their leading figures have said. Fair enough, and that's fine. But they're the best organized, and they're focused on a basic question and getting a petition that'll be winnable, and then working towards a referendum. So really, I honestly strongly suggest you dedicate your energy towards them if you really want independence, or if not, just as an individual person, see how you can help with petitioning in general or spreading the word for independence. And again, that's, back to what I go on to. I'm going to do my plug. I didn't in the last video anyway. The Sovereigntist Handbook, because we've got to make ourselves better campaigners. We don't have legacy media on our side. We don't have the major political parties taking part on our side, though many of their members are. We have to do it ourselves. It means we have to train ourselves. We have to become better advocates for it. And we have to remain focused. So the by-election distraction is gone. Carney's going to be in for 3 and some years now, probably 9 years, who knows. Even if the Conservatives get in, I know they won't change anything substantially. They didn't last time, and they won't in the future. So stick to the independence thing. The federal thing's just a sideshow to watch and perhaps inspire more people to vote to go when the time comes. But the by-election, I don't know, landed as pretty much anybody thought it would, except maybe some of the legacy media members who, maybe Pierre's in trouble. Yeah, whatever, guys. Wasn't going to happen.